So again, thank you for your patience. So we're looking at Luke chapter 14, verses 25 to 33. And Jesus is going to talk about the cost of following him. And so he's going to talk about towers and even kings having to count up how many army men they have. Now large crowds were traveling with him, and he turned and said to them, "Whoever comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, and even life itself, cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not carry the cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. For which of you intending to build a tower does not first sit down and estimate the cost to see whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation is not able to finish, all who see it will begin to ridicule him, saying, 'This fellow began to build and was not able to finish.' Or what king, going out to wage war against another king, will not sit down first and consider whether he is able with 10,000 to oppose the one who comes against him with 20,000? If he cannot, then, while the other is still far away, he sends a delegation and asks for the terms of peace. So therefore, none of you can become my disciple if you do not give up all your possessions." As Jesus says, "Whoever does not carry the cross and follow me cannot be my disciple." Once upon a time, hate was a dirty word. When children were going around saying, "I hate Brussels sprouts, I hate liverwurst," parents would correct them. The parents would say, "Hate is such a strong word. If you do not like something, just say, 'No, thank you.'" The idea was if you started out hating food, it might lead to hating people. If it is okay to hate people, then it is okay to hurt people. If it is okay to hurt people, then it is okay to kill people. Yes, keeping the word hate out of the vocabulary could keep hate out of a lot of lives. So why does Jesus use the word hate? In Greek, the word for hate is misai. Misai is found in the modern words misanthrope, misogynist, and mistake. Misanthrope means hatred of men. Misogynist means hatred of women. Mistake means the wrong choice was taken. Misai, hatred, is not a positive word. Why would Jesus use this word? Because Jesus is talking about the true cost of discipleship. If you are going to follow me, there is a risk of being hated. Jesus is warning the crowd, if you follow me, you could be disowned by your family. When a member of a Jewish family became a Christian or married a Roman, the family might declare a period of mourning. They would enter a grief process called sitting Shiva. They would sit down and weep over the loss of their son or daughter. They would grieve as if the child had actually died. If we remember the story of Fiddler on the Roof, the father, Tevye, is heartbroken at the thought of one of his daughters marrying a man who was not Jewish. Tradition says he is supposed to disown her. Disowning means disinheriting. When disowning happens, it means say goodbye to the farm, the house, the barn, the mule. It all goes. Jesus is very honest about the cost of following him. A disowned member of the family is dispossessed. It may cost you everything to follow me. That is what it will cost to carry my cross, everything, as Jesus says. Jesus goes on to talk about the cost of being dispossessed. Jesus says, count the cost before you choose to follow me. Who among you, if you are going to build a tower, lays a foundation without counting the cost of every brick? Who among you will start a war if you have half the soldiers of the king next door? If you carry my cross, the cost may be your family, your relationships, your inheritance. You may be disowned. You may be dispossessed. Today, the traditions are different. We do not have the same disowning tradition as Old Testament Judaism. Most of our families are Christian. When the children decide to follow Jesus, the family celebrates the decision. When youth are confirmed, the family bakes a cake, goes to dinner. We do not disown the next generation for owning Christ. We can get broken hearts when we see the next generation owning something other than Christ. There are lots of things that compete with Christ these days. There's the competition of atheism. The choice to disown God is a very risky business for the health of our souls. If there is no God, so there is no commandment to love. It is okay to say hate. It is okay to have hate. It is okay to love yourself first, hate your neighbor, and ignore God. Atheism puts God last and self first. It is a form of self-loving. Be careful, none of us is perfect. We will disappoint ourselves. Sooner or later, our love can turn into self-loathing. There's the competition of agnosticism. This allows that God might exist, but following God is not actively chosen. God might exist, so an agnostic might give God some lip service, but there is no life service. Agnosticism allows for God, but it does not follow God. It often says, you don't have to go to church to believe in God. No, for an agnostic, you don't have to go to church. Indeed. But for the Christian, the command is to love God. How loving is it to say, God, I believe in you, but I'm not going to come over to your house? How loving is it to say, God, I allow that you exist, but I do not want to pay the cost of being a disciple. I will allow you to exist, but don't ask me to follow. Christians are not commanded to allow God. Christians are commanded to follow God, to love God. And there is consumerism. This is not about loving God or loving neighbor. This is about loving stuff. Sometimes consumerism creeps into Christianity. We can buy a cross and wear it around our neck. We can buy a Bible and put it on the coffee table. We can join a church and say, I have a church. We can possess all these things and not have love. We can possess all these Christian symbols and not pay the cost of following Jesus. As Paul said in 1 Corinthians 13, we could have the gift of prophecy. We could speak in tongues. We could have the gift of healing. We could have these things. But if we do not have love, if we do not have the love of God at the heart of it all, we really don't have anything. So Jesus is basically saying, what is in your spiritual wallet? Does it contain Jesus Christ or something else? Amen.